There's not many game characters out there that can transition from the platformer to a pinball adventure gracefully. I'm just imagining Solid Snake or Master Chief or Chun-Li getting bounced around by flippers and bumpers, and it's pretty laughable. But this legendary Sega superstar manages to make it work. This is Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball on the Sega Game Gear. So this handheld version came out in 1995, 2 years after it was released for the Sega Genesis, and essentially it has the same gameplay as the original. Taking the role of what you could call a pinball, you find Sonic having to navigate through 4 maze-like stages that feature some of the same elements as a typical pinball machine, like bumpers and flippers and ramps, and then to complete a level, you need to find the Chaos Emeralds hidden within, and then proceed to fight some kind of weird boss robot. Aside from control of the flippers, you can also control Sonic at times with the D-pad. If he's moving slow enough, you can get him to drift slightly to the left or the right, and if he's stopped entirely on a flat surface, you can walk around, jump, and even spin dash. But if he's blazing along at full speed, you'll just have to let him do his thing and see where he ends up. So this port for the Game Gear is definitely slimmed down a bit from its 16-bit counterpart, mostly due to technical limitations. The animation definitely isn't as smooth, and there's not as many things happening on screen at once. And then it's certainly not quite as colorful, but maybe most notably, the collision detection is definitely not as precise, which is kind of important for this game. Sonic Spinball is all about exploring the level by launching yourself into various tunnels and ramps, and the timing of your flipper shots is much more forgiving on the Game Gear. So instead, it's just more about knowing where the Chaos Emeralds actually are, and then from there, it seems a bit too easy to navigate once you do. One of the other notable differences here is that the bonus rounds have been changed up. The straight-up pinball bonus game from the Genesis version is gone, and instead, these extra rounds play a bit more like platforming in the old-school casino levels, where you'll have a limited time to grab as many rings as you can, bouncing around on those big star ball things. So Sonic Spinball is a pretty classic example of what happened a lot back in the day when you port a game down to handhelds. It's almost exactly the same, but it's just not quite as refined. What Sega did do right is bring the Sonic Spinball experience to gamers on the go, and it's still definitely a fun and addictive little title to pick up for a few minutes. So if you don't have a Game Gear and a bunch of batteries, this version's also playable on Sonic Adventure DX and the Sonic Gems collection. But I gotta say, if you have a choice between the two Spinballs, the Genesis version is probably the way to go.